It went really well. The plays were very successful in that they really helped to concretize the issues, and each one of them focused on 2 or 3 things. The real surprises were they focused on many more things, because it was the audiences that saw more in what we were presenting than what we had thought were in there. And of course, really, that is the exciting part of the whole process. The second really exciting thing was the fact that audiences not only enjoyed watching the pieces, but they really got engaged with the issues. They got engaged in the forum theatre, and they participated, they made decisions, they challenged us, and hopefully they came away with new ideas and different ideas than perhaps they'd come in with.
My concerns were probably different than Patrick's, because my one was, are these things going to work? He has more experience of really what works and doesn't work than I do, so I was worried about the actual plays. But that went quickly away, and I then realized we had this thing that it was very unexpected what happened, because of the audience interaction, that on some nights they took control of it, and we were sort of stepping back and just watching what they found in these things. And afterwards people would say, oh, that was very clever the way you did that. And I didn't have any idea what I had done with this. The people did really see amazing things in the scenes, and they did really interesting things with them. And so that was, it was a real, from the beginning, once I was sure that the writing worked, it felt like an adventure, that we were creating something. We were getting better and better at it as we went along.
I learned a lot about human rights from the project through meeting the various, not only audience members who were real experts, but also working with Alan on the pieces over the years. Theatrically, I guess that's the biggest lesson for me, because you have the plays, but they are really the bare bones of the forum theatre event. You know, the really unpredictable and vibrant thing about those is how the audience respond, both in action and also in word. And in every case, each performance, each event was utterly different and depended upon the nature of the audience, whether they were young, whether they were older, whether they were legal scholars, or whether they were lawyers, or whether they were from other disciplines, or members of the general public, or whether they were activists. And then just learning about how forum theatre works, from the joker's point of view, the facilitator's point of view, how to really focus an audience in on changing something through action. And that was the most difficult thing. Rather than people standing up and saying, oh, I think this, this is my opinion. The emphasis was on, well, how do you change that? How are you going to change that now, in this situation which you've been given? And that evolved, should I say. I learned how to do that. I learned how to really work with people to try and get the best out of them in those workshops.
Well, I learned a lot about things I thought I knew about. I thought I knew about the business human rights issues, but when I had to really craft something for a play to engage people, I had to think far more about the issues on both sides, the corporations, the government, the community, all of these different elements that weren't really apparent to me before, that I now see much more clearly. And also that the audiences themselves, when they took control of the plays and did things, I also saw all of these possibilities. So I learnt a lot about that. I learnt a lot about theatre. I learnt a lot about interactive theatre, how risky it is and how remarkable it is each night that we pull this thing off, because so much of it is about getting the audience in, getting them to do things. And that was remarkable from the sort of writing point of view, that you can write these points of oppression, these points where everybody does want to get in, everybody does want to fix this issue. And I suppose I learnt a lot about the end product, which was what people got from it. I hadn't really, I'd only focused on, we would have this legislation, we'd have these votes, these people would say, this is what we want to do to fix this problem. But what I hadn't anticipated at all was the emotions it would engender in the room. So the final thing that I felt about it was this age gap, this generational gap, where the frustration and anger didn't seem to find a focus. It seemed to find a sort of inevitability. The world, the plays that I'd written were somehow a metaphor for this terrible world in which they were going out into. And I didn't know what to do. This one particular performance where they were very young, I tried to give a semi-inspiring speech at the end, which just didn't work. I just felt, I don't have something to say here. And that was a bit depressing, but very interesting as well, in terms of giving me thought about how to communicate across a generation that I still think of myself as quite young, but there is a big gap. So I learnt a lot in that.
It went better than expected. I don't know what to say next. Okay, that's really...
He started off with better than expected.